doing?
Hi, Gretchen.
It's good to see your face again.
Ah,
Hi, too.
Love it. That's great. That's a great intro, Denise. Thank you. Amazing.
It's the 45-second like theme. Just keeps re-looping about 4 or 5 times. Do you ever watch the show?
I've never seen it.
No, with Les
No.
Nessman?
No, should I?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if it aged very well. I wonder. We'll probably watch it now.
There's a few great
like,
episodes that are definitely worth seeing of that show.
Yeah.
Kevin Chambers.
Can we do if you like this, you would like that? So if I liked the what about like if I like The Office, would I like that?
This?
It's kind of got recurring characters like that, so I think that's as close as analogy as I can come up with.
Seinfeld?
Yeah. There was a Murphy Brown show too that was out in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. It was just called Murphy Brown.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. No, they were a radio station. And they had like the weather girl. Lonnie Anderson was the weather girl. There was Venus Flytrap. He was like the blues kind of soul. And there was Les Nessman. He couldn't say, like, he would say things like the golfer Chichi Rodriguez. He'd call him Chai Chai Rodriguez. And the chinchilla, he'd call it a Chihuahua Hua.
I'm gonna put this so we can see.
Okay, so it's 2:00. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I hope that everyone is having a fabulous day out in the sunshine today. We're going to go ahead and get started with today, and we thought it would be nice to start with something a little bit fun. And in the chat, we would love it if you would be willing to share your secret talent.
Bench pressing a cat. Somebody said, Jeff Day, bench pressing a cat.
Amazing. Survival tactics. Love it. The other can do a backflip. We haven't told them the next part of this yet, Denise.
I know. I know. Matt Sanders, he's a musician, guitar and sing decently. Mm-hmm.
What song?
Band.
What song do you know all the lyrics to, Steph?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Amazing. I'm adding that to the show notes.
Yeah. We can do a duet sometime.
Love it. Love it.
sounds like a good Moscow little session there, Steph. Up on that stage there.
Breaking up a little bit, Kristen.
Yeah.
Downhill skiing.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a recently discovered superpower, Rod?
Yeah, out of necessity. Yeah, that's how we bring the cousins together. Is actually the little tiny cousins. That was the
okay.
the funniest game. Like the questions are all about the family and trivia about the family. It's actually quite fun to watch. So my daughters actually have put together a game for myself, my brother and sister-in-law, and my wife tonight. Apparently, they've got some top secret categories for us.
Awesome. Should we share with them our thoughts about this, Denise and Gretchen?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you think? What were we thinking, Gretchen?
Well, what we were thinking was we would find out some of these great talents that you guys have and maybe reach out to some of you for the next session, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about one of your talents or even share it in our next session next week on Monday. Good idea?
Great idea.
Crickets in the chat.
Well, we think it's a good idea.
Well, we might nudge or encourage some of you guys to join us.
Yes.
Oh, Melissa Dent's in. She's in. Love it.
Hey guys.
Okay. Thank you for sharing all of your secret talents. We will touch back with you guys and see if maybe some of you guys be willing to share your special talent with the group next week.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're glad that everybody could join us today for our Monday meetup. We are your hosts. Tell us a bit about yourself.
I'll start. I'm T. I'm one of the instructional coaches with the LKDSB. I work with lots of intermediate classrooms and kind of classrooms across the district. I'm really excited to come together today and really hear and share some of the great learning that everyone has done, and celebrate a lot of the accomplishments that we've been able to do in a really challenging time. So I'm really jazzed to be here with everybody.
I'm Gretchen Sands.
Go ahead.
Gretchen Sands Campbell. I'm the Elementary Indigenous Education Special Projects teacher, and so I work with the elementary program department too, and I've been helping out with the workshops and everything. So I'm just glad to be able to be here to talk with everybody and see what's happening in your classrooms in this new online situation that we're all in.
Awesome. And I'm Denise Ladd, and I'm also a mathematics elementary instructional coach. And we're kind of excited about this. We've all got a tie on today that we kind of took it from different points of view. Gretchen's got hers to her sweater. Teen's got his with his I Love Math t-shirt, or I Love Matt, which is a little further to what's coming up.
Both.
And yeah, and my son actually, I'm wearing his, and he actually had to tie it for me today. So it's going to be a great day. I'm just looking forward to today, touching base with some of my intermediate friends that we haven't had a chance to touch with, and hoping the learning continues when we're in our current situation.
Okay. And we also have Matt Sanders as our special guest today joining us. So Matt,
oh, no.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's too close of my face. Switch the slide quick.
That's a nice picture.
Oh, I guess.
All right. I hope you don't mind. I stole that from your Twitter there, Matt.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
So Matt has some exciting resources to share with us. You can take it away, Matt.
Cool. Would I be able to share my slides?
Yep. Gretchen, can you release the screen?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Matt.
I miss all my intermediate friends. So as was mentioned, I'm the experiential learning coordinator, and I've been working with my lovely friend Heather Robbins. Heather and I worked at Merlin a few years back. And so Heather reached out to me last week on a project she was working on with her students. And it was, as usual for Heather, fabulous. And she was having some challenges along the way. So I developed with her, we kind of worked through a project that I'm offering to anyone who might be interested. So everyone can see my screen okay?
Yep.
Inspiration, strength, and resilience. Awesome. So Heather was working on, she reached out, she had this idea about connecting her students with local seniors residents and having them write letters. And so I should mention to start, this is Heather's baby from the get-go. And so she can't be here because ironically she's in office hours with her students today. So I'm here in her place, but I thought I'd offer this to any teacher that might be interested in joining in. I've got a lengthy email that I can send you with all the logistics in case you miss any of it. And I'll have you just pop in chat if you're interested, and I'll send you the email afterwards. So we've developed kind of a larger, I would say, meaningful resource. I think it's meaningful. With it is some stuff. There's a slide deck about just resiliency, courage. So there's some videos. This is Heather's baby. We talked a lot about this, whether we take this slide out. Be 100% your call if you want to take her, but I wanted to honor her slide deck as well by leaving it in because it is her baby. There's a nice little video about Rosa Parks and resiliency. It's a little bit about Rosa Parks. Have some nice conversations about who she was and what she did for our world. Another nice video, it actually got released last week from TED Ed, talking about some of the things that you typically wouldn't know about Rosa. Again, we left this slide in. You could remove it if you wanted to, but a great little piece about Heather's mom, who passed away in 2003, and how resilient she was. And then just a bunch more about different other folks who have been resilient heroes in our lifetime. Again, with videos and stuff. And then some stuff for students to dig into. And all of these aspects are attached to a doc that I'm going to pull in at the end here. I'll show you kind of where student work comes in here. So if it was me, I'd probably have students look at this slide deck and maybe you'd want to remove the back half of this, or maybe you want to chunk it. Again, this is totally your call. So what are some qualities that make a person inspirational, strong, courage, and resilient? And this is one of the writing tasks that students could do. And then there's a whole section about asking students to reflect on their own resilience. So do I keep a positive attitude during difficult situations? Do I have the skills to help myself relax and manage stress? And there's just like a little write-up that I did underneath each section. This is a nice little website that we could encourage students to look at, or you could look at with students about wellness. Question number 3, do I have a network of people who can offer support to me? And the importance of that. Question number 4, do I take good care of myself and stick to routines? Question number 5, do I know what my priorities are and then take action to achieve them? And the last question, do I keep my eyes on the big picture even during challenging situations, kind of like now? So I'm going to come back to those 6 questions here in a second. So who are some individuals you would consider to be inspirational, strong, courageous, and resilient? We're going to come back to that question in a second too. And then we also partnered with Mark Reinhardt from the city. I don't know if you know Mark or not, but Mark is an incredible man and is a resilient, courageous individual, I think, myself. Mark has been doing duct tape art in the Chatham area for a long time. He's a accomplished artist. And so on the right side of the screen, he did on a wall in Chatham, he's done about 20 of them. He wrote, "We are in this together." And somebody came along and took it off. And so he said in his video that you could see on this slide here, he talked about how he had a bit of a pity party. and pouted for a day and then said, no, this is not how I'm going to do this. And so on the left, you'll see what he put up in response. Nevertheless, we persisted. So a cool little story. And like I said, there's a 4 or 5 minute video there of Mark describing that and encouraging students to do the assignment. So it's building up to assignment number 4, which is writing a letter to a resident at a local retirement home. Assignment number 1, 2, and 3 connect to the slide deck that I just went through. So assignment number 1 is, what does the word resilient mean? Think about a time when you or someone you know demonstrated resilience. And there's a third question down there that I don't want to wreck my flow, but there's a third question down there that you can see if you open it. Question number 2 asks students to, assignment number 2 asks students to dig into all the 6 questions that I asked on those slides, like 15 to 21 or whatever it was. Assignment number 3 encourages students to write a letter of thanks or write a card or encouragement to someone that they know who's demonstrated resilience or courage. I've seen some of the letters that have been written by Heather's students already, and they're pretty tremendous, whether it could be sent to a neighbor, dropped in someone's mailbox, sent to a hospital, to your father, with whatever it would be. And there's a breakdown in this assignment of like an example of what a good letter looks like, success criteria, although I didn't use the word success criteria, don't worry. And then the last one is the assignment number 4, which is a letter written to a local resident at a retirement home in CK. And that again walks through students everything they need to know, what to include, what to do. And then my only ask of you, if you wanted to have your students participate in this, would be do anything you want with any of the things I'm offering you. If you think this junk and you just want to do assignment 4, 100% your call. If you don't want to do any of it, but you just want to use the assignment number 1, go for it. I know some of my secondary folks are going to just take the back half of my slide deck and use it as like a wellness check-in with students. Like, that's cool, amazing. So all I'm asking of people is, I've already ordered 3 black ink cartridges for my house. So I'm good to go here. So if students were to type out letters of encouragement to a local retirement resident, be part of your literacy program, just have them make any alterations to any of their own writing work, whether they, I think in the writing piece for assignment 4, it encourages students to ask their parent for feedback, send it to a friend for feedback, and then fix it up before they submit it to you. And the only thing I'd ask teachers to do is just to read over the letters prior to sending them to me, simply for content. I don't care if there's spelling mistakes and stuff like that. We don't need to get into that. It's the thought that counts, but just to make sure they're all good to be sent out. And then I'll print all of the letters from home. I'll put them all into a large manila envelope. And this can be done anytime between now and the end of the year. So if you send them to me, I'll send them out and I'll get them to where they need to go to. Heather and my kind of goal for this is, if we get enough submissions, we start sending them to hospitals, EMS, fire, police, places like that. I've spoken to Mary Lynn a little bit about this, Anderson, and her only concern, and I agreed, was maybe that these places don't need additional people reaching out because they're already pretty down and busy. So the only thing I'll mention is that I'm not sending out emails and asking if we can do this. I'm just sending them. And all I'll do is I'll write a letter to include in the package that I'm sending out of your students' work, just explaining the kind of the project. So that's pretty much it. If people are interested, I'm going to stop sharing now. If people are interested, or if they can, if they want to just do it on their own and they want to print them on their own, that's cool too. So take what you want. If you want to send me an email, or if you want to ask questions in the chat now, that's cool too, or turn on your mic. So I'm going to shut up now.
Thanks, Matt. We actually have a question already from Melissa. She wants to know, is this intended for only intermediate students, or can she share with her grade 6 students?
Oh gosh, like anybody. I mean, Heather and I started with it because it's our 7 and 8 crew, but I know there are some grade 10 and 11 students that we're looking at doing something with it too. So
Awesome.
Mhm.
This is awesome, Matt. I like how you've got the local flair to it, and the fact that, you know, Heather and you collaborated together on this. This is very cool.
well, it's a weird time because it's like you're the experiential learning coordinator when no one can do experiential learning. So it's like, what the heck can I do from sitting in my playroom other than write on the easel? What else
Hey,
can I do?
problem solving right there. Everybody needs a drawing
Surrounded
board.
by
Yours.
toys. Like, we could play Frozen.
Oh,
That's all I got.
oh. Well, and I know Teen has, we have a link to a document at the end that we're going to share with all of our resources. And I think Teen put a link to yours in there. Is that right, Teen?
Oh, you're on mute, Teen. Unmute yourself, Teen.
Say that again, Teen.
Sorry, Matt.
You're good.
I included the documents that you sent to me, but if there's additional links that you'd like to include, I've added you as a collaborator on that document as well for our show notes. We're just trying to consolidate all of our notes into one place.
Perfect. Yep. Good. Thanks for the opportunity, everybody. I'll stick around for the rest of the session, but I appreciate the platform.
Thank you for all the work that you put into that, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. You are our first special get, Matt.
Ooh. And I apologize I didn't get the tie. I had a webinar right before this.
It'll be something different next week. Don't worry.
Yeah.
He'll tell you.
You got it.
No. Okay, let me see here. All right.
So one of the things we wanted to focus on, folks, was we want this to kind of be your session so your voice can come out in it. And we love it. There's all kinds of things being said in the chat. One of the things that we hoped we'd do is if you want to put a little emoji at the end of your chat, that kind of lets whoever is monitoring the chat know that you're willing to speak over the mic about it. We got that idea from one of the other sessions last week, so thank you very much for copying on that. For instance, somebody wrote in there, Terry, that she loves this idea that Matt's doing. It goes along with an Inspire Me assignment that her and Heather Mulligan have shared. If, you know, things like that are great, and this is what the session is all about. If we could share these ideas together, that would be wonderful. Go ahead, Gretchen.
Okay, so we're going to start with land acknowledgement from Teen.
Okay. So we're joining you today from the LKDSB, which is the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Potawatomi, Odawa, and Delaware nations. If you're joining us from another location, you're encouraged to recognize the nations whom traditional territory you share today. These nations agreed through their ancestral languages to the mutual sharing of the land with obligations and responsibilities to the environment. Today, these responsibilities and obligations extend to all people.
Thank you, Teen. So we just want to, I want to draw attention to the fact there that Teen, I want to draw attention to the fact that Teen kind of moved away from the territorial acknowledgement that we hear in the school all the time. So I also created some lessons to share with you today. And so since my role is Indigenous Education Special Projects teacher, I want to help us to remember that's something that we are focusing on in our school board as well, is to make sure we are sharing Indigenous perspectives in our classrooms. So this is a lesson that I created around traditional territorial acknowledgement. So it kind of starts with explanation about the territorial acknowledgement. There's the map that we saw in the GIF that Teen shared in the slide. And there's an article also about writing land acknowledgements so that they are respectful and they are relevant to the area that you are, the traditional territory that you are living in. And there's a resource here for teachers, the teacher guide to go with the map. And so there's a challenge for your students. So an important part of creating the traditional territorial acknowledgement is also making a commitment to taking action. So what commitments can you make to the earth and to the people whose traditional territory you are living on? Use information from the map and what you know about land acknowledgements now and create a land acknowledgement that is appropriate for where you live. So we will be sharing that with you in the show notes. And this here is just some more information about traditional territories by municipality. And it might be with different areas. And Sarnia was in there and London was in there and areas around there actually. And so oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Just in my preparation for our land acknowledgement, there was some really interesting learning that I was able to get about our area. I'm in the Mount Bridges area, so I learned that this area was covered under Treaty 21, which was actually a very significant treaty because prior to Treaty 21, most treaties had been signed with lump sum payments. And this marked a shift from that, where they developed an annuity. So the agreement is perpetual, and actually to this day, the British Crown still pays a annuity of $2,400 every year to the First Nations, which is kept in a fund by the federal government.
Yep, and the trust. Great. And so that's just some learning that Dean was able to come up with some of those links that are included in this lesson here. And so part of creating the traditional territorial acknowledgement is acting on it as well. So it shouldn't just be something that we just say and then that's it. So the next lesson that I created here is the persuasive writing lesson, and it uses the artwork here created by Christy Belcourt. And so this one here is to look at these pieces of artwork, and these are provided on her website for anybody to use for free. And so look at these posters, do a little bit of research about Christy Belcourt, and then write a letter to the mayor of your town, letting them know why taking care of the water is important. Okay, so include all the parts of the letter. And this can be changed any way you want to, but these are just some resources that you can use in your class to help to share Indigenous perspectives and to keep the idea of the land and the environment and everything kind of at the forefront for our students.
Awesome job, Gretchen. So those are just some ideas that Gretchen had come up with that she wanted to share and get out. And Tina and I were all for that. We're going to kind of switch bases now, and we're going to go a little bit towards
Thank you.
What we want to hear from you now. We want to know one thing that is working for you and your students during this remote learning time. So if anybody wants to offer some ideas into their chat, that would be great. Anybody who wants to just open up the mic and start talking now, that would be great. I'm having problems getting my screen to share, folks, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for doing this. Sometimes you feel like you're alone out here in the wilderness, and I know Matt Sanders checked in with me last week and it really helped me out. So I appreciate knowing that other people are on the other end. One of the things that's really working good for me personally and for my students is that every morning I do a morning message. So it kind of forces me to get myself rolling and sort of be social and be presentable. And I do an under 5-minute video that talks about what work is going to look like for today and goes through a little agenda that I post beneath the video. And it has on there 6 domain tasks for the day that include literacy, math, wellness, social, and a few others, outdoor learning, a few others, just so that I know that I'm doing that every day. And then they check in, they say good morning there. It's kind of like when you go through your morning agenda. They look forward to it and they comment morning back and forth or cool stuff that they want to share. And that's been probably what gets them coming every day. And I give them an opportunity to share something that they want to share underneath it. So today, Melissa Dent sent that great little package of virtual field trips. So I had them go and check out the aquarium and said, stick around until you see the whale shark. And I said, I saw it twice. And they were like 10 of them. Oh, I saw it right away, or I never did see it, or, you know, just something that felt like we were having a little morning conversation like I always do when they come in the cloakroom in the morning. So that's been like my big success, is feeling somewhat connected to them and that we're kind of sharing our morning together.
That's awesome, Terry. So what platform do you use, first of all?
I use Google Classroom, and I just attach it in my morning message. So I use just my phone. I know we're not really supposed to use our phones, but it has the best camera for me. And I go outside because I'm trying to get them to go outside every day. So I usually try and do that message outside with the birds and the sun, and just reminding them that we're not trapped indoors. Find a spot where you can sort of be outside in nature, that it helps. And then this morning, on top of that video, I reminded them of box breathing, and I walk them through a little sunshine meditation exercise. And sometimes they get into it and sometimes they don't. And I always say to them, you know, if you feel like checking it out, check it out. Oh, the other domain I had was a learning skills task. So I had them set up a little work environment and share a picture of how they had organized their little table space or whatever. I also had them start doing a to-do list and take a snapshot of their to-do list, so that they were sort of feeling like they had some goals, and I shared mine, and that sort of helped them to feel like they weren't alone starting the process.
That's awesome.
I had a question for you, Terry. What level of engagement are you finding from your students? Like, are you getting almost all of your students? We're just wondering what's typical.
I have about 50%.
Okay.
And I feel like that's 50% who are like daily and completing assignments. I know I have many more lurkers who are just coming by for the mental health stuff and for the social stuff. Try to Google Hangout chat on Friday and had over half. So I know the message is getting out there, because kids are popping into those things they want to do, like create your own meme that says how you're feeling today. I'm getting lots of that. And I get lots of traffic for the read aloud that I'm doing right now. So I know that they're at least engaging somewhat. And I feel like that's okay. You know, I've had kids apologize. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with all of my work. And I just say, well, you know, opt in as much as you can. And as you feel more confident, then you're going to just keep rolling with it. It's a struggle with math when it's cumulative. We're doing probability, and you know, that's kind of a struggle to keep kids on that train. But the other stuff, they're really doing well. So now that we've done some Google Meets, we're going to start small group instruction for math, and I'm hoping that's going to help them a little bit to actually have me explaining instead of just a video, and it's really interactive. So I gave them an opportunity to say who they wanted to be in a group with for their Google Hangouts this week and what time they would like to meet, and everybody said the afternoon, and they gave me about 3 or 4 names, which are going to, I think, work out pretty good.
I love how frequently you're connecting and you know, giving kids really what they're craving, right? Is that relationship with us and with their peers. I think that you facilitating that is really amazing work. We have some questions about the read aloud. I'd like to jump over, if Sandra would be willing to jump on. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you structure your read aloud, Sandra?
Yeah, I've been doing class meetings every day at 1:30 with my kids, and I hadn't really thought about doing the read aloud at first, except that we had been finishing one up, and I had like 2 chapters left, so I knew they really wanted to finish it, and I started realizing I have a really small group this year. So out of 20 kids, I've been getting, you know, like today I had 13 or 14 kids on, so. Yeah, I'm doing Eric Walter's Wounded right now, which seems like a dark book, but I kind of gave them a few options, and that was the one they chose. And they're really loving it. Like, they're back every day, and yeah.
That's amazing. What do you think is the draw? Like, how can we leverage that?
You know what? I think the big draw is the connecting and seeing each other, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think that's the big thing. And I think they, even in class, they always enjoyed the read alouds, right? That was something that was always a highlight. So I think it kind of extends from that as well.
Yeah, kind of coming together and meeting at the campfire, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's pretty much the same kids every day. There's a few that come in and then they're not here every day, but it is pretty much the same kids.
What level of participation are you seeing with your class right now? So we're seeing about half, and as kind of typical. Is that representative in your classroom as well?
I'm probably a little bit higher than that. but like I would say too, I've had an exceptional class that way this year. But yeah, I kind of give deadlines that are a few days past when I give them, but I don't worry about those deadlines. But that's been the tricky part, is they get handed in here, there, and everywhere, right?
Okay. Great. Thank you for
It's
sharing,
awesome.
Sandra.
Yeah.
And Terry just responded in the chat team that she records her read aloud on a voice memo. She uploads it in a separate classroom just for the novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's
cool.
Yeah, I kind of found that's the easiest for me because I can't always get them all at the same time. They don't even get up until 1 o'clock, and I'm not staying on here until 5. So I'm trying to give it to them in bite-sized morsels, stuff that I know will keep them coming back. And so I give them I create a classroom, and I do this all the time. Every read aloud has its own classroom. So next time, if I want to teach it again, all my stuff is there and it's organized.
Smart. Mm-hmm.
So my book this time around is called Things Not Seen, and it's about a 15-year-old kid who wakes up one day and he's invisible. And then he meets a girl who's blind, and he starts a relationship with her because she doesn't know he's invisible. And it's a really, really great kind of connection to our time. I never read it before, but Scholastic offered it for free, and gave permission to do it as a read aloud. So I thought, I'm going to do that. And there's all kinds of things about feeling trapped in your own house or about not being seen in the world. And I felt like they might connect to it. So, but there's some references in it that they don't get. So I post the chapter and he talks about being John Wayne or being like a Greek gladiator. So then I post little videos underneath about those kinds of things too. And it takes place in Chicago. So I used Melissa Dent's 360 city link to do a virtual tour of Chicago today. So just like little things that I would normally share with them in my classroom, I'm trying not to forget to add those little things in, or like a little anecdote, Oh, I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite towns. I've been on there for vacation. Have you guys been? Because you would ask them that in the classroom, right? Who's been to Chicago when you're doing a read aloud? And you almost forget in this transmission mode that you're still interacting with them. So I'm trying to remind myself to make it as interactive as possible. Like, how much can they send back to me that doesn't require a Google Doc and a submit button?
Right. Yeah. The way that we get that formative feedback from students is a lot easier than in the format that we are now. There's a question in the chat here from Stephanie. Steph is asking if anybody's worked with Google Groups much. You're experimenting with it this week. Has anybody played with that? Or Steph, can you talk a little bit about what your thinking behind it is? Like, how are you hoping to use that?
Sorry, my daughter started crying right as you were talking.
Of
Can
course.
you talk and just give me 1 second, okay?
Sure. Yeah, no worries. Chris, we'll jump over to Kristen. Kristen, can you tell us a little bit about your live lessons?
Yeah, if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, you sound great right now.
Okay, because sometimes it's not always working the best. I do live lessons through Meet and then just record them and post them. So when I do like a follow-up activity, they can go back and review the lesson. And I just use kitchen items, like I make it as real as possible. So I sometimes don't have everything out in front of me. I'm like in my kitchen thinking about things on a whim and adding to the experiments just to show that connection, that real world, like, yes, I'm in my home as well as you are. And I find that I have the most students tuning in. Like, so in a morning message, I'll do a slide that will say, come at 1 o'clock for a science lesson on this. And then they all come in, and I just find it beneficial because we can have the discussion in the moment. Like I run it like this, like one student will watch the chat for me and they just chime in and I can answer on the spot. And then a lot of times I think some students come up with questions that maybe others would have later, but it's already answered, and then they can go back and watch the video for later as well. So I do weekly reflections and forums where it's just basically the programming. We're getting there, like what works, what doesn't, what makes you feel overwhelmed, what is a nice balance. And I think that we're getting there where all students can comfortably say that they're grasping it. And so I've kind of used my students as my collaborators on how this rolls in our classroom so that they can kind of own it. And I find that that's actually helped participation. I'd say I'm about 65% participation. So that's really it. It's pretty self-explanatory, just live lessons.
So would you say that like that is like the most popular thing? That's the thing that's getting them to come?
Yeah, I asked them, I said, what's stopping you, or what's driving you? Like, what are the things that you find are working? And almost every single kid, it was just an open, short answer. So I didn't even give them multiple choice. Said the videos, live lessons. And when you do science in your kitchen, or when we do math on your wall, or whatever, like just trying to utilize what we have, right?
Yep.
And again, because it is all about that connection piece, right? So they're used to my voice, and especially the students that I've had for 2 years in a row, like they're used to my voice and the way that I teach, and I find that they need that direction still. It's almost habitual for them to hear it coming from me. So that's working.
Something that we were wondering about, and we thought that might be helpful to kind of everybody, is how is everybody approaching new learning versus kind of like reinforcement of learning? Are you trying to teach new things, or are you trying to reinforce kind of the teaching that's already been done? What are your I would love to hear some of your thoughts on what your approach is to this.
This is a great question, team. Had a lot of different controversy on this topic. I know some folks are saying that if they try and teach a new topic, they like to have some kind of a video of them speaking to the kids, addressing a topic, introducing the topic before they go, and let them do a little bit of inquiry on that. I'm not sure, I think there has to be a balance, some reinforcement of some skills already taught, some strategies that we've been using. And then if you want to throw in some new learning, I think there's a way to do that. Nobody seems to want to be touching that one in the chat.
We're just going to give them some think time.
Sandra's made some math videos using Explain Everything. Is this new concept, Sandra?
Yeah, new concepts. Like we've been doing integers because I missed that in the fall. And so I figured that was one too that parents might be able to grasp a little more too. So it would be a good one to introduce.
Awesome. Have you got any feedback from your kids on those?
They notice every error you make. But that was one of the reasons I actually started doing it. At first, I started by using whatever ones existed already online. And I would get complaints about those too, because kids would catch the errors in them. So that was why I started doing them. But yeah, I think they appreciate them. They didn't realize it was me at first, though. That was kind of funny.
So you were just kind of voicing over and showing a whiteboard or something while you were talking?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Can we jump back to Steph? I want to make sure that we address Steph's point from
I was
earlier.
just thinking that, team. Good call. Yeah.
I'm back. Everybody has a popsicle and life is good.
Simple solutions. Love it.
I've just started playing with Google Groups because we've done the Google Meets twice a week. We're doing the Google Meets twice a week. But I'm finding that they're missing the interaction with each other. And so I put them into like groups of 4 or 5, and I posted just a short page, like a short story for them to read today, just a page. And I posted one question to go with it. And I just asked them to read the story and comment on the question. I just asked them to check back daily. And so we just have some interactions, some questions. And my plan is that I will go into each group, and once they start posting, then I'll reply and kind of push for a little bit more or help them to dig deeper depending on where the group conversation goes. But I've never done Google Groups before, so I'm just new to it. So I'm hoping that I think everybody should just be able to comment and reply to each other, but it's my first time using it.
I think it's brilliant, Steph. Like I think that's that's such a great idea, because what kids are craving right now is that peer, like, you've got group work going online. That's amazing. Well, but I think like that really intentional thinking around like, how do I meet kind of like globally all of the needs of my students, right? So like they need each other, they need me, they need the instruction piece, and then I know that in the classroom you do a great job of that collaborative learning as well, and you know, I think the more we can, just that's why we're here today, right? Is that the more we can unsilo ourselves and you know, collaborate, the better off we are in our terms of our learning, but also like our just our mental health, right? We don't want to be islands. So
Yeah.
we're not seeing a lot of comments or feedback on the Google group, so I guess you're our leader on that stuff.
I was thinking the same thing. Nobody else is touching that one. Yeah.
So hopefully, can you stay connected and kind of let us know how you make out, and you know, kind of like what are the pitfalls and things to avoid if we're diving into Google groups? Can you be?
Yeah, I've added our principal and a resource teacher to a group as well, so that they can kind of stay connected as well. So that's going to allow that. So yeah, I definitely will.
And if you need a sounding board, I see that Terry has said she's going to try and use Google Groups, so maybe she can touch base with you and you can troubleshoot together. That's so cool.
Quick funny story about Google Meet. I was doing one on Friday and I had them doing a scavenger hunt, and I told them to get somebody else's shirt, and one of my kids started taking off the shirt he had on. I was like, no, shirt stays on, put your shirt back on. Texted my principal right away, just so you know.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
The one thing I like, though, that both you and Terry have said, if you got your kids in that group element, which is getting right back similar to the classroom environment, that's really cool. I like that. Your kids probably like that too.
I couldn't manage them all on Friday for this Google Hangout, and there was only like just over half of them. And they were showing their cats, and they were like, it was a cat rodeo. So I was like, okay, I got to pare this down for my sake and their sake, because some of them are pretty shy and didn't want to opt in. So I was like, who would you like to be with? That's going to keep me a little more engaged. And small group instruction is something you always dream of doing, but they're always crazy in the classroom. So feedback and small group instruction this is my heyday. I'm going to actually get to do some of that. So I don't know too much about Google Groups. I was just going to do it on Meet and tell them, you come on at this time, but I'll have to figure that out.
Perfect. So that sounds like a tool that we can all kind of explore as a way to get students collaborating. Jeff shared a comment in the chat here regarding that mixing of content with old and new, and his perspective is he's kind of doing a little bit of both, and then but only the math is new. Would you be willing to speak a little bit to that, Jeff? Like, tell us a little bit more about your thinking.
It's right up our alley with that whole finding the balance between.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
But basically, there were some things that we had started that I really wanted to work on in March, and that kind of came to a grinding halt. For example, we had started working on narratives in March, and unfortunately, we didn't really get that far, but now that seems to be the one thing that they really enjoy doing the most. So I was reading some of theirs today, and they were sending me like 11-page stories, and I had to lay down after each one. And
that's amazing. Amazing. Love it.
11 pages, huh? Yeah.
Unintended consequences, right?
Some of them were handwritten.
I want to hear some of these stories.
Oh gosh. But math is basically the only thing that I'm doing new, but I'm trying to go slowly with them and base it off of things that we've already done. So I mentioned surface area. Well, we've already done area not that long ago, so that should still be fresh. So surface area is just kind of a step up, I would say. And then we're also working on volume this month. So
how do you structure that, Jeff? Do you do it as a live lesson, just like document it like documents, or how do you
it's most of what they do is actually interactive activities like Desmos. Thank you, Sally. And so I can get kind of some formative assessment from that, because I can see exactly what they've done and what kind of responses they're giving.
Yeah, Desmos is like perfectly made for
yes,
learning today,
online
right?
learning.
The online learning. It's such a great tool. Awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Jeff.
Yeah. Sally just piped in and said they learned Desmos before school was out.
Yes, thank you, Sally.
Coach, Jeff? She's your math coach.
She's my math coach.
You lucked out. You got you got a great one. We were thinking about pacing. So we're a little bit unique in intermediate because it's a big jump from primary and junior, where students are expected to be completing 5 hours a week of instruction or sort of learning, whereas for our intermediates, we're going to 10 hours. What are some thoughts, like what are you guys finding around pacing? How much is appropriate? How do you kind of determine what 10 hours looks like for your students? We'll give you some time to think about it. I know it's a big question.
I think what Stephanie just posted in the chat about making a Google slide that goes out on Sunday nights and has everything for the week is a really good idea to help with that pacing. Do you want to?
That's all thanks to Kristen. I have to give Kristen credit for that. I just do a slide and it has their math, their science, geography, whatever I want them to do, their language, and then they can do, because some of them want to get it all done in the first 2 days, some of them want to do a little bit each day. I wanted them to connect to the Google group first so that we could have that dialogue this week. So I just made a slide that said, do this first. And then they just go back throughout the week and do whatever they can when they can and when they want to. But on our Google Meet, they said that they like it that way. And I still check in every day and still give feedback every day. And they go back and work on things that I sent back to them. But at least at the beginning of the week, they know what's ahead of them for the whole week.
That's a great strategy too. Some kids need to know that. They need to know ahead of time what's coming so that they are, they're prepared and not kind of anxious. Jennifer says she's been doing the same thing, Stephanie. Seems to be better for students, parents, and herself. Makes it easier during the week. It kind of frees her up to answer emails or respond to video chats or online training.
I'd love to hear your voice, Miss Latta. Can you expand on what you've written?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Nago.
Hello, friend.
Sarcasm there, yes.
Tell us more.
Well, I thought I could just put it in the chat so we didn't have to put it all out there.
Don't you know teen by now, Jennifer?
I know him too well. But it's actually working a lot better. It's a little bit hard on the weekend and a Sunday, making sure you have everything done. But it's easier to kind of guide what we're doing, right? And then because I'm a little bit type A, my slideshow, the background colors match the color of the curriculum documents. And also,
whoa, that's awesome.
And I have some cute Bitmojis in there too. But for my visual learners, like I've said to them, okay, so when you're doing language, it's the yellow slides. So then next week, I'm just going to make a copy, and the next week, right? So it was a lot of work up front, but now I'm just making a copy and kind of, changing what the slides say, but keeping the backgrounds.
Do you have like a structure set up then? Like Mondays is typically, do your Mondays look the same, or your Tuesdays? What?
So I didn't set it up Monday, Tuesday. I have like my blue slides are math for the week.
Okay.
Yellow are language, history, geography are green, and like this is your work for the whole week.
Okay.
And then, we kind of have a virtual community circle that they can all kind of write their comments on. And like every week, like I'll change those things, right? And yeah.
So as a group, do we see kind of like some consensus around the idea that self-pacing is something that's really appropriate for our students, like that's working right at the moment?
Dean, I can speak to that just a little bit. I started kind of doing things right after March break, like come the Monday. So the first couple of weeks I was doing daily, and then decided to give the option for them, like switch things up. And the weekly has gone so much. It's just, it frees, as Steph mentioned, it's just so much more freeing to provide feedback, because I was finding I was spending so much time on delivering curriculum in the day that I was having a hard time getting that feedback. And it was completely like, also agreed that the weekly is better. And the reason they said that is because they don't feel as overwhelmed with the weekly, because they know what's expected of them in advance, not just trying to take on today's workload, not knowing what tomorrow brings. So that's some good feedback that they gave to me that I thought was worthy of sharing.
Thank you.
Great thoughts.
Jana's likes the idea about a virtual community circle. Is anybody doing anything like that, or because I think it's a great idea? Just wondering what tools or how are people facilitating that?
Hi, Teen. I'll jump back on. So I just have mine in my Google slide, and I have my question, and then on the next slide, I kind of like we're all, again, I'm type A, everybody has a number. So then on the number, Nicole likes to make fun of me for that. Then they just type their answer, right? So that everybody can see it, and yes, they're all working on the same document. But yeah, it's just a little question like today was, what are you looking forward to for the warmer weather? And then that's it just for the week, right? I just do one per week.
Love it. That's awesome. Simple solution. One thing that I thought that we could address today was there are some concerns, and I think it's a common concern around videotaping yourself and students and how that video is being used. What are our group's thoughts around that? Is that a big concern? Do you have some strategies for addressing that? What are your thoughts? So videoing yourself and students, concerns, thoughts, strategies.
Maybe we can come back to that one, Teen. They're on a Genius Hour idea in the chat right now. James, you want to speak about Genius Hour or Geek Out, as you call it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
How's it going?
Oh, it's great to see you. You look good.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. No, I was just saying to Jeff there that like something, because I have some kids that are bored too. I think a lot of kids are kind of getting a little bored. There's only so much Netflix you can watch, right? But just something like a Geek Out project or like a passion project where they could work as much on it as they want. And then you could kind of drive maybe some writing or if you want to like curate some stuff for them to read or look at. And then it kind of becomes like something more than they're doing, like they can connect it to themselves rather than it just be some like article that you assigned. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's their interest, and it's something if they want to dig in a little further, they got all the opportunity to do it. Have you tried that, or you're thinking of trying that?
I have. I've been putting together like I was thinking about driving them towards like learning a new skill or something. So I was putting together a wakelet just of like, you know, like here's a video on teach yourself how to juggle, how to, you know, just something like that. And I don't know, tying knots. I forget what I had, but just a bunch of things that they could look at and maybe that they could explore.
What is a wakelet, James?
Wakelet is like, what is it? It's like
bookmarks on steroids.
Yeah.
It's like Padlet, but better, maybe.
An app or a
website?
website?
To Wakelet. It's an app. Yeah, it's a website too, isn't it, Teen?
Yeah, it's it's a website. It's an app. It allows you to kind of, it's like bookmarking, but you can bookmark tweets. You can bookmark all kinds of different things. Yeah, and you can sort them, and it's a really great way to bring resources together into one spot, and then you can also share and collaborate those wakelets as well. So it's a really great tool if you want to explore it. We'll add Wakelet to our show notes for today. We do want to be respectful of everybody's time. We're coming up on 2:57, and we want to make sure that we finish on time today. So we're gonna continue on just to sort of our closing jobs, and then we'll come back together next week.
Yeah, lots of great chat today.
Yeah, amazing.
Teen and Denise, can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. So Mary Lynn here. And first of all, I want to thank Teen and Denise and Gretchen for leading the discussion this afternoon, and for the other team members who are here and participating as well. And to all of you who are here and learning more. I was in and out a little bit at the beginning of the session, but I'm so impressed with some of the ideas and things that I heard there. And I'll just kind of point out a couple of them. But one thing I want to say to Terry and to anybody else, because we've heard this half a class situation is quite common, and we're celebrating that. So don't anybody be discouraged about half a class. Half a class it's there. The half class is there, and so who knows? You know, we're at the beginning of this, and maybe more will come along as they hear about the great things that you're doing with your kids. So don't get discouraged about half class, because we're celebrating that. And Terry, I'm just going to jump on Terry. She was talking a lot at the beginning when I first got on. So I love the idea that you're looking at group work and the opportunity for group work and feedback is in this time of weirdness that we're in, and you're taking that as the opportunity that doesn't lend itself well in the classroom, because it doesn't, because the rest of the kids are all going crazy when you're trying to do that small group work. And yet here's an opportunity for us to be able to do that. So I hadn't really thought about that before until you said it, Terry. So awesome for you. And I just want to mention about read alouds, because I loved being read to as a kid, and I loved reading aloud to my classrooms as well. And so I think what a great way to draw in our junior and intermediate students. And it sounds like it is drawing them in a little bit. So we're getting some more attention from some of them when we're actually doing read aloud. So good for you guys on all the things that you're doing to help support our kids in a really strange time in our lives. You know, nothing that we've ever encountered in our life before. And I just kudos to all of you for all of the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Well,
Yes.
Thanks, Marilyn.
I did fall in love with Read Aloud with you, Marilyn. She was my grade 5 teacher.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, Terry and I go way back.
Cool. Thanks, Marilyn.
She was 12.
You want to take over screen sharing there, Denise?
No,
I was in my first year of teaching. I will say that.
Thanks, Gretchen. She's got it.
Thanks, Gretchen.
So I guess we got to wrap this up. Again, this is going to happen every Monday. We've called it our Monday meetup, and it's at 2 o'clock, 2 to 3. It's just what we did today. Awesome. We shared some ideas. We connected. We asked some questions. We got some answers. We hope to see you back here again next Monday. If you want, at the end, we have a, could you show the QR code maybe, Gretch? Yeah, thanks. This has all of the resources that we spoke about today. If anybody wants, they're called our show notes. Matt's stuff is going to be on here. Gretchen's great ideas are going to be on here. And we'd also there's a slide on here that we added for anybody that has any feedback for next Monday. Yeah. I think Teen and Gretchen want to add more about that.
Yeah, so right in the show notes, so there's that show notes is a Google Doc. There is a link for feedback, suggestions, and comments. We would really, really appreciate if you could give us some feedback so that we can better tailor this to be as fruitful and productive for everybody as possible. We would really appreciate if you could take a few moments to do that, as well as all of our resources. Anything that we refer to in our broadcast will also be in our show notes.
There's a lot of great things still happening in the chat. I'm
Yes.
sure we didn't get a chance to talk about those today. Maybe we can touch base on those next week.
Yeah, can we ask one quick question? I'm going to save this chat. Does anybody have issues with us saving our chat from today? Does anybody have any concerns around us doing that? If you guys, maybe just a thumbs up or an okay or a yes would be great. Or if you have any concerns, just privately message us. Okay. So thank you for everybody giving up time away from your your families on a beautiful afternoon to come and join us and do really great work for kids. It's just always inspiring to see the level of commitment from everybody within our board and what you're doing. Great stuff for kids in really challenging times.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank
It's
you.
our getting back together in the staff room again for those of us that are missing that part of it. It's awesome.
Yes, thank you.